Hello, my name is Tyler Cousins, and I will be showing you guys everything you need to know about hair as it relates to forensic science. I'm going to explain each of the parts of hair and their functions, the three stages in the hair's life cycle, the differences in hair for race and bodily regions, and case studies where these methods have been used. Let's begin. The first anatomical part I would like to discuss is the epidermis. The epidermis is the outermost layer of the skin that protects an organism from the outside world. Also known as skin, the epidermis is where the hair on an organism can be seen. Next is the sebaceous gland. The sebaceous gland is a microscopic gland in the skin that secretes sebum, a waxy substance that helps to waterproof the hair and skin. They are most common in the face and scalp and have even been known to help cause the acne medical condition. Now, the sweat glands are one of the more obvious parts. They allow humans to produce sweat. This serves as the body's primary reaction for cooling down. The papilla are small extensions from the epidermis into the dermis layer of the skin. The papilla serve to help nourish the hair particles and help bring oxygen and nutrients to the lower layers of the skin. The pattern that these papilla make is genetically predetermined at birth and is extremely helpful when performing fingerprints. The capillary is a very small tube that helps transport red blood cells and oxygen throughout the body. They connect the arteries to the veins and help exchange CO2 and oxygen to the cells. This is how hair strands get their nutrients. Now we move on to the life cycle of hair. Hair grows in three stages, and the anagen phase, the catagen phase, and the telogen phase. The anagen phase can be called the growing phase, beginning in the papilla and lasting from 2 to 6 years. The longer hair stays in this phase, the faster and longer it will grow. Around 85% of the hair on your head is in this stage right now. The catagen phase begins when signals from the body tell the anagen phase to stop. This stage can also be called the transitional stage. It is the stage that signifies an end to the active growth of hair. The follicle shrinks to 1/6 its size and the papilla detaches from the hair, cutting it off from the body. The telogen phase is the final stage in a hair's life cycle in which the hair remains dormant for around 3 months. The completion of this stage signals the anagen phase to begin again, and the old hair is pushed away by the new one. Around 13% of the hairs on your head are in this stage at any given time. One thing that forensic scientists need to know is how to distinguish a human hair from an animal hair. There are a few key characteristics to determine this. The first difference is with pigmentation. While pigment is denser towards the cutile in humans, it is denser towards the medulla in animals. This leads to animals having a much thicker medulla than humans. Banded color patterns are also not possible in humans. The two hairs under a microscope will also look different. Human hair follows an imbricate pattern, while animal hair can either be coronal or spinous. The racial origin of hair is also a very important piece of information that forensic scientists need to know. The Caucasoid hair is normally straight or wavy with more evenly distributed pigment. The hair is oval to round in a cross-section and can contain many shades of color, all of which are lighter than the other two groups. The Africoid hair is normally denser with a more unevenly distributed pigment. The hair is normally flat to oval in a cross-section, and Mongoloid hair is mostly straight and nearly circular in a cross-section. They usually have deeper pigments and a thicker cutile. The final topic I want to cover is the differences in hair among bodily regions. Not all of the hair on the human body looks the same, and it's very important to know where the hair you are studying has come from. Scalp hair has a very even pigment distribution and shows little variation in diameter. The tips are normally blunt due to cutting. Pubic hair tends to be short and curly with a wide variation of the diameter of the hair shaft. It normally has a more continuous medulla and is flatter in a cross-section. Beard hair is normally coarse while looking triangular or irregular in a cross-section. Beard hair also has blunt tips like scalp hair. Both eyebrow and eyelash hair are short and curved with finely trapped tips. Chest hair is normally longer with tapered ends and has a thicker diameter and less variation than pubic hair. And underarm hair is very similar to pubic hair, with the only real difference being that there is less variation between them. Finally, I would like to present everyone with an example of how the analysis of hair can be a deciding factor in whether or not a crime is solved and a murderer is convicted. What you see is a fairly summarized version of the article that I found. In 1990, in Tellerud, Colorado, Eva Schoen's daughter found her dead from a single gunshot to her head. Her husband, Sam, came under suspicion, but he truly appeared to be the grieving, shocked husband, a victim of random violence. The police were confident that they would solve the case because the bullet taken from Eva's skull had the distinct markings of a particular type of pistol. However, the case eventually found its way into the cold case files. There just were no leads. 3 years later, the Tellerud police received a call from a man in Arizona who believed that his brother, Frank Marcus, had been the perpetrator. Marcus had once convinced this crime, but an attempt to trap him during a phone conversation failed. Nevertheless, when the gun was recovered, an arrest seemed a sure thing. Unfortunately, Marcus had covered his tracks all too well, including tampering with the barrel of the gun so that the bullet fired from it could not be matched. All they had on him was a hearsay conversation. However, tracing Marcus's movements indicated that he had indeed been in Tellerud during that weekend for a festival, and that he had a police record for rape. This was the man, the detectives felt, and they had to find a way to get him. Putting pressure on Marcus's travels companion, they learned that at some point along the road back, Marcus had tossed 2 bundles out the window. They suspected that this was the clothing he had worn to commit the crime. Still, it was a long and winding road between Tellerud and the point where Marcus had ended his journey, some 400 miles away. Detectives scourged the roadway until they narrowed the possibilities down to 4 places. As luck had it, a conversation crew had recently moved a pile of dirt, exposing a bundle of clothing that the dirt had preserved. On the shirt was a single strand of hair, which was examined in the lab against a sample taken from Eva Schoen. Forensic trace expert Joseph Snyder analyzed the color and structure and pronounced them a close match. When the investigators told Marcus of their findings, he confessed. It was a bungled burglary, he said, indicating his knowledge of the plea bargaining system. Although the officers in charge of the case believed that he had in fact planned to rape Eva Schoen and had killed her in the process, they knew that this would be impossible to prove. Marcus got a sentence of 24 years for manslaughter. Thank you for watching my presentation on how hair analysis is important to forensic science.